الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أما بعد. So today we're going to talk about the meaning of La ilaha illallah and the conditions of La ilaha illallah. And La ilaha illallah, this is of course the testimony of faith in Islam. This is the Shahada. So with La ilaha illallah, what happens? What happens if someone who is a Christian says La ilaha illallah and they mean it in their heart and so forth?
They will truly be a truth.
Exactly. They will enter into Islam. So the scholars, they refer to La ilaha illallah as the Miftah Agenda, meaning it's the key to paradise. So La ilaha illallah is the key to paradise, and it has conditions for La ilaha illallah though. And the conditions are like the teeth of the key. For example, here's a key right here. So this is like the Miftah Agenda, we're saying, the testimony of faith. But these teeth right here, these are like the conditions. And this is how some of the early scholars, they describe when talking about La ilaha illallah, the meaning of La ilaha illallah. So, La ilaha illallah, there is no God worthy of worship except Allah. Okay? And it has two pillars. When we say La ilaha, that means there is no God. That's a negative. La ilaha. That is a negation of all the false gods. Meaning because people worship many things. We know some people that they worship, for example, the Buddha. Some people they worship trees. And some people worship elephants and cows. Some people worship snakes and rats. Okay? People worship many different things. Some people worship the angels. But Islam teaches us in this simple phrase, this very concise phrase, La ilaha illallah, the first part being a negation of this false gods. La ilaha, there is no God if we stop there. But then, illallah, except Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that shows us that it has two pillars. One, we negate the worship of false gods. And the second pillar is that we affirm that only Allah is worthy of worship. Now, I'm going to take your hoodie off, and pay attention. The hoodie too is Ahmed, Barakallah Fi. So those are the two pillars of La ilaha illallah. You know, a pillar, what's a pillar? Who knows what a pillar is anyway?
Like, yeah. What?
No, that's good. That's a foundation. When we do the masjid, we have pillars. A pillar is something that holds up something. It holds up a building. I said it supports a building. And that's what the pillars of La ilaha illallah do. They support the kalimat al-tawheed. They support the testimony of faith. Okay? And so this testimony of faith, it has 7 conditions. Okay? It has 7 conditions. The first condition is knowledge. Ilm, meaning that you have, when a person wants to be a Muslim, or even a Muslim, in fact, should have knowledge of what La ilaha illallah means. Okay? They should have knowledge of what it means to worship Allah alone. Okay? That not just that we say La ilaha illallah and we don't know the meaning, but you should have knowledge of that word. You should have knowledge of that testimony of faith. The second pillar is that we should have certainty. That means you should have no doubt about the meaning of La ilaha illallah. You shouldn't say, I wonder, Islam tells us to worship one God and him alone, but maybe there's some other gods too. No. The person who believes like that, they are negating their shahada. That is making a negation of the testimony of faith. You understand, Ismail? So then we should be certain about the meaning of La ilaha illallah. We should have knowledge, and we should have certainty, and be sure of that meaning, without any doubt. We shouldn't have doubt. We shouldn't say, maybe there's 2 or 3 gods, maybe I can worship this too, maybe I can pray this with Allah. No. Instead, the believer, and a part of the conditions of this testimony of faith is that we have certainty in its meaning. The third condition is that we should be sincere in our hearts. We should have sincerity. Okay? So when we utter the testimony of faith, when we say La ilaha illallah, then we should be sincere in our heart. Mukhlis. Okay? We should have ikhlas, as we talked about those two conditions to have our deeds accepted, which are ikhlas and the sunnah. Ahsant. Very good. Yeah. Yes. Just like in the surah from Bayyinah, who can give us the ayah? Mukhlisin lahu-din. Ahsant. So that affirms to us that we have to be sincere. And we have to be sincere when we utter this testimony of faith. And we should be sincere in our hearts in believing in that testimony of faith. Also, a fourth condition for the testimony of faith is that we have to be truthful. We have to have truth. That means we cannot lie. We don't just, some people, for example, there was a famous movie producer, and he made a film about a Muslim. And he said, the only reason I took the Shahada, he took his testimony of faith. He said that he bore witness that there was one God worthy of worship and that Muhammad was the last prophet and messenger. He said this testimony of faith so he could make his movie in Mecca. But after he finished his movie, he came back to America and he said, I didn't believe that. I just did that because I wanted to make the movie there in Saudi Arabia. I wanted to go to Saudi Arabia and do the pilgrimage and make the movie. Okay? So that means he didn't have sincerity, nor did he have truthfulness. Okay? He didn't believe in that. He just did it so he could make a movie and make a lot of money and produce his semi-documentary. Okay? So again, we have to be truthful. The fifth condition is that we should have love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not a thing that we're being forced, but you should have sincere love for your Lord, Rabbul Alameen, whoever created you, the owner of the heavens and earth. You should have some love in your heart for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and love for the kalimat al-tawheed, love to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be away from the hellfire. You should have some love in your heart for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the sixth condition is that a person should also be obedient. They should want to practice that testimony of faith. So it's not simply that we just say, oh yeah, I have knowledge, and I'm sure that it's the truth, but it should be reflected in your actions. That means we should treat one another with kindness because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us to do that. We should treat each other as brothers and sisters because the Prophet ordered us to do that. Okay? And so we should want to practice that knowledge that we gained about who Allah is and how to worship Him properly. We should have strict obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's commandments and stay away from that which He prohibited. And the seventh condition is that we should accept all of what that testimony of faith, what it requires of us. Okay? So if it means that a Muslim has to do such and such things like take a shower or make wudu or something like this, we should accept that because those are from the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we should accept that there is no God worthy of worship and that Muhammad is the last prophet and messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is in a very, very brief description of what it means, the testimony of faith, and its conditions. Okay? And just one last thing I want to add with that is that also by believing that there is no God worthy of worship except Allah, that also necessitates, or it means it makes it an obligation that you do not worship or respect worshiping anything besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You cannot go and say, yes, I'm a Muslim, but yes, I can pray in the church to Jesus, alayhi salatu wasalam. May peace and blessing be upon Jesus, alayhi salatu wasalam. You cannot do that. You cannot worship anything or anyone else besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if you want to respect another religious tradition, you cannot practice that. You cannot supplicate to other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You cannot direct your worship to anyone except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so those are just some of the important things regarding the conditions for La ilaha illallah.
Or if you try to practice a non-Muslim like religion,
yeah.
so you can use it as an example.
Mm-hmm. So really, you cannot practice any other religion. But if you want to know and understand, so that when you can, you have a better understanding of what they believe, or for the sake of maybe you are going to debate with them or something like this about what the truth is and what you believe is the truth and what they believe is the truth. In that situation, then it's still better to not really get involved in trying to understand other people's beliefs unless you are grounded in your own belief. Because if you don't know the meaning of La ilaha illallah, and you don't know Tawheed, and you don't know something from the Sunnah, and you don't understand the religion in belief that strongly, if you study another way of life and another religion, that may confuse you. So the person who does that should be a person who is a student of knowledge or a scholar, because the average person, a lot of times they're not grounded in belief that much. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ became upset with Umar bin al-Khattab when he was reading a verse from the Torah, the Jewish book that was sent to Moses, alayhi salatu wasalam. And Umar was just reading some of it. But the Prophet ﷺ became upset because he said, he said that if Musa, if Moses was alive during this time, he would be ordered to follow my way. Okay? That Allah would have ordered him to follow the way of the Prophet ﷺ. So Moses' commandment was for his time and for his people, the people of Bani Israel, the children of Israel. But the Prophet Muhammad his message was for all of mankind. So the point being is that you shouldn't really involve yourself into studying deeply into other religious traditions unless you're grounded in your own religious tradition. Okay? And you should try to avoid getting in debates with people. Don't debate and argue with people about religion. It's better not to. It's better just to study and learn religion and then convey that message to others if they're sincere about wanting to know about Islam. Now, everybody's okay. Any other questions? Jazakumullah khairan. And I ask Allah the Almighty to accept from us our good and forgive our evils. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.